a World Cup broadcast, a rooftop studio in New York, and one very angry-looking Ange Postecoglou. ITV's coverage of Scotland versus Morocco was supposed to be about football, the result, the pressure, the group table, and Scotland's painful setback. But suddenly, the analysis was drowned out by something nobody expected. A loud emergency siren blasted through the broadcast. The pundits were sitting outside, live on air, trying to break down Scotland's agonizing 1-0 defeat. Mark Pougatch was presenting, Roy Keane was there, Duncan Ferguson was there, and Ange Postecoglou was just about to give his reaction. Then the siren hit, and Postecoglou's face said everything. Fans watching at home were stunned, confused, and, in some cases, genuinely scared. One viewer even admitted it scared me less. This was not the usual calm post-match discussion. This was live television chaos World Cup style. ITV had been covering Scotland's match against Morocco from its outdoor New York studio, a rooftop setting that has already become a major talking point during the tournament. On paper, the panel was perfect for sharp, honest football analysis. Presenter Mark Pougatch was joined by three men known for speaking their minds: Roy Keane, Duncan Ferguson, and Ange Postecoglou. And the timing of the discussion made the interruption even more dramatic. Scotland had just suffered a painful 1-0 defeat to Morocco. It was a frustrating result for the Tartan Army, especially after they had started their World Cup campaign with a victory over Haiti. That earlier win had given Scotland hope. It had given the fans belief. It had put 3 points on the board, but the defeat to Morocco changed the mood completely. Now, every detail mattered. Every mistake mattered. Every point in Group C mattered. Postecoglou, the former Tottenham boss, was preparing to offer his thoughts on where Scotland had fallen short and what the result meant for their World Cup hopes. But before the conversation could properly build, the broadcast was suddenly interrupted. A blaring emergency siren began cutting through the live coverage. It was loud, sharp, and impossible to ignore. And as the sound took over the studio, Postecoglou looked visibly furious. The moment was awkward, unexpected, and very live. There was no clean edit, no pause button, no hiding from it. The panel had to carry on while the noise continued in the background. Pougatch, trying to keep control of the broadcast, reacted quickly with a football joke. He smiled and said, "It's not an emergency for Scotland yet. They can still get through." It was a clever attempt to calm the moment, bring the coverage back to football, and stop the siren from completely taking over the segment. But for viewers at home, the interruption had already become the story. Social media lit up almost instantly. One fan wrote that the siren scared me less. Another joked, "Someone just got 5-star wanted level outside the ITV studio." A third viewer added, "Nothing like the sound of sirens to remind me we're watching a World Cup in America." Others were simply confused, asking, "What was that?" Another fan admitted, "I didn't expect that." And that is exactly why the clip spread so quickly. It had everything live television can deliver: tension, confusion, a strong reaction, and a pundit who looked like he had absolutely no patience for the disruption. The most dramatic part of the whole incident was not just the siren. It was the contrast. On one side, ITV's panel was trying to discuss a serious football situation. Scotland had just lost a crucial game. Their group position had become more complicated. Their path to the knockout stage was now under pressure. On the other side, the studio itself suddenly felt out of control. The siren ripped through the calm post-match setup. The rooftop atmosphere, designed to look bold and cinematic, suddenly became unpredictable. And in the middle of it all sat Ange Postecoglou. He had been brought in for strong analysis, direct opinion, and his calm authority as a manager. But in that moment, his expression told a different story. He did not look amused. He did not look entertained. He looked furious. That image, Postecoglou trying to stay focused while an emergency siren blasted around the studio, became the moment fans remembered. Because football broadcasts are usually controlled. The camera angles are planned. The talking points are prepared. The panel is ready. But this was raw. This was one of those live TV moments where the environment takes over. And while Pougatch tried to save the situation with humor, the siren had already stolen the spotlight. For Scotland fans, though, the bigger issue remained on the pitch. The defeat to Morocco left Scotland sitting on 3 points in Group C. They are not out, but they are now facing a major test. Their final group fixture comes against Brazil, one of the giants of world football. That match will decide whether Scotland can fight their way into the last 32. So Pougatch's joke carried a serious truth. It may not be an emergency for Scotland yet, but it is getting close. In the end, ITV's World Cup coverage produced one of the strangest post-match moments of the tournament so far. A furious-looking Ange Postecoglou, a rooftop studio in New York, a sudden emergency siren, and viewers at home jumping out of their seats. What should have been a straightforward discussion about Scotland's 1-0 defeat to Morocco turned into a viral live TV interruption. But beyond the noise, the football story remains clear. Scotland still have a chance. They have 3 points. They have one huge match left, and they know exactly what is coming next. Brazil, a heavyweight opponent, a decisive fixture, a place in the last 32 on the line. For the Tartan Army, the siren may have been unexpected, but the real alarm bell is now ringing on the pitch. Scotland must respond, because their World Cup dream is still alive, but only just. And after a night of chaos on ITV, all eyes now turn to Thursday afternoon, when Scotland face Brazil in the match that could define their tournament.